Nowadays renowned as the father of physics, Nikola Tesla was an unsung hero for most of history. Tesla was a visionary, a genius, and a selfless inventor who was primarily focused on harnessing electricity in a way that could power the entire world and serve humankind for eternity. He pioneered alternating current, which revolutionized the field of electricity and became the basis of the modern electric industry. Many groundbreaking inventions are attributed to none other than the brilliant Nikola Tesla. Throughout his career, he created pumps, turbines, speed indicators, and more. Even during his declining years, he carried on his scientific research and continued his art of innovating. Unfortunately, many of his projects stalled or remained unfinished due to a lack of consistent financial support, propaganda from rivals, prejudice, and some ill-fated life events. In today's video, we'll discuss some of Nikola Tesla's lost inventions and papers that were never released until now. Death ray. One of the most enigmatic, controversial, and sought after of his creations was the death ray. Tesla's creativity never ceased to impress the masses, even when he was growing senile. His father instilled a strong aversion to war in him. He worked tirelessly to find a technological solution to put an end to war. He believed war could be reduced to a mere spectacle of machines. At a press conference in 1931, Tesla declared that he was about to discover an entirely new energy source. When asked to describe the nature of the power, he responded, "The idea first came upon me as a tremendous shock. I can only say at this time that it will come from an entirely new and unsuspected source." Once more, war loomed over Europe. On July 11, 1934, the New York Times front page headline read, "Tesla at 78 bears new death beam." The report stated that the new technology will send concentrated beams of particles through the free air of such tremendous energy that they will bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy airplanes at a distance of 250 miles. According to Tesla, the death beam would prevent war by providing each nation with an invisible Chinese wall. The concept sparked a great deal of debate and interest. When Tesla realized he needed money to create a prototype of his planned invention, he went to J.P. Morgan to seek financial aid, but he failed to persuade him. Tesla also made an effort to communicate directly with the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, but interest in Tesla's anti-war weapon eventually petered out when Chamberlain resigned after realizing that Hitler had outwitted him at Munich. By 1937, it was clear that war would erupt in Europe. Frustrated with his efforts to generate interest and funding for his peace beam, he sent a detailed technical letter complete with diagrams to several allied nations, including the United States, Canada, England, France, the Soviet Union, and Yugoslavia. The paper, titled "New Art of Projecting Concentrated Non-Dispersive Energy Through Natural Media," provided the first technical description of a charged particle beam weapon. The unique vacuum chamber with one end open to the atmosphere distinguished Tesla's proposal from the usual run of fantasy death rays. To maintain high vacua, Tesla created a one-of-a-kind vacuum seal by directing a high-velocity airstream at the tip of his gun. A large Tesla turbine would be used to perform the necessary pumping action. The Soviet Union was the most interested in Tesla's proposal of all the countries that received it. Tesla presented a plan to the Amtorg Trading Corporation, a rumored Soviet arms front in New York City in 1937. 2 years later, in 1939, one stage of the plan was tested in the Soviet Union, and Tesla received a $25,000 check. Tesla hoped that his creation would be exclusively defensive and serve as an anti-war tool. His system needed power plants along a nation's coast to scan the skies for enemy aircraft. The beam's effectiveness was limited to about 200 miles, the distance of the Earth's curvature, because it was projected in a straight line. Tesla also considered using his particle beam for peaceful purposes, including long-distance power transmission without wires. He also advanced the radical idea of creating artificial aurora borealis by heating a portion of the upper atmosphere. Whether Tesla's concept was ever seriously considered is still up for debate. Most experts today believe his theory to be unsustainable. However, his death beam is eerily similar to the charged particle beam weapon that the United States and the Soviet Union developed during the Cold War. However, Tesla's hope for a technological way to end a war still seems as remote today as it did when he first put forth the idea in the 1930s. Wireless energy. By the end of the 1890s, Tesla had concluded that it might be possible to transmit electrical power at high altitudes without using wires. There, the air was thinner and more conductive as a result. Upon learning of Tesla's research, Leonard E. Curtis, a friend and patent attorney, offered to locate a site and secure power for the study from the Colorado Springs-based El Paso Power Company. Colonel John Jacob Astor was the next ally to come forward. The inventor immediately made plans to relocate to Colorado and start construction on a new experimental station close to Pikes Peak after receiving $30,000 from Astor. A number of assistants who weren't fully aware of Tesla's plans joined him. When Tesla arrived in Colorado Springs in May 1899, he went to survey the land. It was in the prairie some miles away. He told the media that he planned to transmit a radio signal from Pikes Peak to Paris, but he gave no further information. Tesla would sit and take measurements amidst Colorado's own spectacular electrical displays. He soon discovered the Earth was literally alive with electrical vibrations. Tesla eventually came to believe that lightning strikes created strong waves that traveled from one side of the planet to the other. Tesla theorized that if the Earth indeed was a good conductor, he could send unrestricted and virtually lossless power to any location on the planet. But to put his theory to the test, he had to become the first man to produce electrical effects on the scale of lightning. The laboratory that protruded from the prairie floor was wired and weird, a structure with a roof that could roll back to keep it from catching fire, and an 80-foot wooden tower. A 142-foot metal mast holding a gigantic copper ball was positioned above it. Technicians started putting together a vast Tesla coil specifically made to send strong electrical impulses into the Earth inside the peculiar wooden structure. Each piece of apparatus was first thoroughly examined on the evening of the experiment. Then Tesla instructed his mechanic to flip the switch open for just a split second. An intriguing blue corona developed in the space around the secondary coil as it started to sparkle and crack. Tesla was content with the result and instructed his mechanic to keep the switch closed until told otherwise. Big blue electricity arcs zigzagged up and down the central coil. Over 100-foot-long man-made lightning bolts erupted from the mast atop the station. Tesla's experiment destroyed the El Paso Electric Company's dynamo, knocking out power to the entire city. The power station manager was furious and insisted that Tesla repair and cover the cost of the damage. Tesla experimented in Colorado Springs for 9 months. The outcomes of his experiments are unclear, even though he kept a daily journal that was highly detailed. Did Tesla actually transmit wireless power at Pikes Peak? That is one question that has never received a conclusive response. There are some claims that he actually sent a signal several miles away that was strong enough to light up vacuum tubes planted in the ground. However, this can be attributed to Colorado Springs' conductive ground characteristics. Tesla also tried sending extra low-frequency signals through the region between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. Tesla estimated that this region's resonant frequency was around 8 Hz. This theory wasn't seriously considered until the 1950s, when researchers were shocked to learn that this space's resonant frequency was in fact in the 8 Hz range. The ionosphere, an area 80 kilometers above the Earth, was the target of the third method of wireless power transmission. Again, Tesla predicted that this particular region of the atmosphere would be highly conductive, and his projections came true. He required the technical means to deliver electrical power to such a great height. Tesla discovered a repeating signal being picked up by his transmitter one evening while working in his lab. He thought he was receiving a signal from space, much to his own amazement. Tesla was widely mocked when he made this discovery, but it's possible that he was the first individual to observe radio waves coming from space. Tesla's work in Colorado Springs is still shrouded in profound mystery. His notes and comments do not clarify how he intended to transmit wireless power, but it is evident that he went back to New York City quite confident that he could succeed. Wardenclyffe Tower. Tesla penned a sensational article for Century magazine upon his return to New York from Colorado Springs. He described a method for using an antenna to capture the sun's energy in this thorough, futuristic vision. He proposed that electrical power might be used to influence the weather. He foresaw technological breakthroughs that would render war impossible and suggested a global wireless communications network. The concepts were nearly incomprehensible to most people, but Tesla was a man who could not be underestimated. J.P. Morgan, one of the world's most powerful men, was drawn to the article. Tesla, a frequent visitor to Morgan's home, proposed a scheme that must have sounded like science fiction back then. He suggested a world system of wireless communications to transmit telephone messages across the oceans, telecast news, music, stock market reports, personal messages, safe military communications, and even pictures to anywhere on Earth. When wireless is fully applied, the Earth will be converted into a huge brain capable of response in every one of its parts, Tesla told Morgan. Morgan made Tesla a $150,000 offer to construct a power plant and transmission tower. A more reasonable amount would have been $1 million, but Tesla made do with what he had and got to work immediately. Contrary to what he claimed to his investor, Tesla's real goal was to carry out a sizable scale test of electrical power transmission without wires. This ultimately proved to be a fatal error. Tesla purchased land on the Long Island Sound Cliffs for his new development project. The location was known as Wardenclyffe. The Wardenclyffe project was started in 1901, with the most challenging task being the construction of a massive tower that rose 187 feet in the air and supported a 55-ton steel sphere on top of it. A well-like shaft descended 120 feet into the ground beneath the tower. 16 iron pipes were drilled 300 feet to allow currents to flow through them and grab hold of the earth. It became clear that more money was desperately needed as the tower's construction slowly advanced. However, Morgan was slow to answer. Then, on December 12, 1901, word spread worldwide that Marconi had successfully signaled the letter S from Cornwall, England to Newfoundland. Unfazed by the achievement, Tesla claimed that the Italian used 17 of his patents to complete the transmission. However, Morgan started doubting Tesla. In addition to being fully functional, Marconi's system was also cost-effective. Despite Tesla's pleading, Morgan flatly refused to provide more funding. The stock market collapse and a doubling in material costs only worsened the circumstances. The project ultimately failed due to high prices combined with Tesla's inability to find enough willing investors. After some incredible electrical displays in 1905, Tesla and his team were forced to give up the project permanently. The media dubbed it Tesla's million-dollar folly. Humiliated and defeated, Tesla went into a total nervous breakdown. "It is not a dream," he protested. "It is a simple feat of scientific electrical engineering, only expensive, blind, faint-hearted, doubting world." Ozone generator. After Morgan refused to further extend financial assistance to Tesla for his wireless energy project, Tesla grew agitated and desperate. Tesla's credibility had been tainted by his failed venture, and he needed to repair his image while also making money. "It is absolutely imperative for me to put out something commercial without delay," he told Morgan. As a result, Tesla focused on another of his inventions. He patented the first portable ozone generator in the United States in 1896. Following Morgan's rejection, the cash-strapped scientist formed the Tesla Ozone Company and marketed his devices as a way to clean indoor air. In the late 1800s, city dwellers became increasingly concerned about the smoke evil believed to cause illness and was produced by burning excessive amounts of coal. Pollution, a term previously reserved by Noah Webster for unclean carnlacs such as nocturnal emissions, came to mean the human contamination of air and water during this time. Urbanites had little control over the dirty air outside their doors, but they could breathe easier inside. As a matter of fact, Tesla's machines pumped poison into the rooms. Ozone in the upper atmosphere serves as an essential shield against the sun's ultraviolet light, but pumping it into your living room is detrimental to health. Today, the FDA classifies ozone as a toxic gas with no known therapeutic applications. Ozone generators are only approved for sterilizing water and equipment. Nonetheless, unscrupulous merchants promote ozone as a cancer and AIDS cure. Tesla did not mention ozone anywhere in his autobiography, My Inventions. Remote control boat. Tesla wanted to find a unique way to show off the capabilities of his radio wireless energy transmission system. He presented the first radio-controlled vessel in the world in 1898 at an electrical exhibition in the recently completed Madison Square Garden. While everyone anticipated surprises from Tesla, few were ready for the sight of a tiny, unusual iron-hulled boat scooting across an indoor pond created especially for the display. According According to Tesla, the boat had a borrowed mind. Tesla wrote, "When first shown, it created a sensation like no other invention of mine has ever produced." Many attendees weren't sure whether to laugh or run away, as was typical of his inventions. He had cleverly thought of a way to relax the audience and invite observers to inquire about the boat. Some people believe that Tesla was mind-controlling the miniature ship during a time when only a small number of people were familiar with radio waves. In reality, he was operating a small box with control levers on the side to transmit commands to the mechanism. Tesla's US patent number 613809 describes the first device anywhere for wireless remote control. The teleautomaton, or working model, was powered by an internal battery and responded to radio signals. Tesla didn't just apply his method to boats, he broadened its practicability to all types of vehicles and mechanisms that could be activated for any reason. He imagined one operator or several operators guiding 50 or 100 machines or vessels at once using variously tuned radio transmitters and receivers. However, the inventor was enraged when a New York Times writer suggested that Tesla could make the boat submerge and carry dynamite as a weapon of war. You do not see there a wireless torpedo. You see there the first of a race of robots, mechanical men which will do the laborious work of the human race. Tesla quickly corrected the reporter. Tesla's invention was the real beginning of robotics, although he's rarely given credit for it. The inventor's electrical and mechanical engineering training combined flawlessly to create this remote-controlled boat. Unfortunately, the invention was so far ahead of its time that those who saw it failed to imagine how large it could benefit society. Flying machine. You should not be at all surprised if someday you see me fly from New York to Colorado Springs in a contrivance that will resemble a gas stove and weigh almost as much, commented Nikola Tesla in 1913. From Albert Einstein and his ill-fated wing to Thomas Edison and his box kite-type rotor biplane, anyone with a bold idea produced a flying machine in the years following the Wright brothers' first flight. However, aviation history appears to have forgotten Nikola Tesla's 1921 design for a hybrid tilt-rotor, tilt-wing helicopter airplane. The United States Patent and Trademark Office granted Tesla his final patent in January 1928 for a novel method of transporting bodies through the air. He described and drew an open box-type craft with a tilting propeller and wing that could theoretically rise vertically and fly horizontally. However, he also proposed a design in which two propellers, coaxially or otherwise disposed of, would revolve in opposite directions, powered by his turbine engine. Contrary to popular belief, this was not the inspiration for vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, but it does appear that he made a few significant first claims. Earthquake machine. Tesla patented a steam-powered mechanical oscillator that vibrated at high speeds to generate electricity in 1893. Years after patenting his invention, he told reporters that he caused the ground to shake one day while attempting to tune his mechanical oscillator to the vibration of the building housing his New York City laboratory. Throughout the test, Tesla kept increasing power and heard cracking sounds. Suddenly, he recalled, all the heavy machinery in the place was flying around. I grabbed a hammer and broke the machine. The building would have been down about our ears in another few minutes. Police and ambulances arrived on the scene to investigate the commotion, but Tesla asked his assistants to remain silent and informed the police that it had to have been an earthquake. Supersonic electric airship. Tesla had been fascinated by the idea of flight since he was a child. After Wardenclyffe's failure, he began to think more about aviation, combining his electrical and mechanical engineering knowledge. In an article published in the July 1919 issue of Reconstruction magazine, Tesla discussed his work on developing a supersonic aircraft. The aircraft, as per the scientist, would travel 8 miles above the Earth's surface and generate speeds that would allow passengers to travel between New York City and London in 3 hours. Tesla's concept called for the aircraft to be powered by electricity transmitted wirelessly from ground-based power plants, obviating the need for aircraft to carry fuel. The power supply is virtually unlimited, as any number of power plants can be operated together, supplying energy to airships just as trains running on tracks are now supplied with electrical energy through rails or wires, Tesla said in the article. Artificial tidal wave. The engineer and physicist believed science could be used to prevent war. The New York World reported in 1907 on another of Tesla's military innovations in which wireless telegraphy would trigger the detonation of high explosives at sea, resulting in colossal tidal waves capable of capsizing entire enemy fleets. The artificial tidal wave would make navies as useless as the paper boats that babies float in bathtubs, according to the newspaper, and, by its horrors, hasten the day of universal peace, foreshadowing later claims about the development of nuclear weapons. Thought camera. Tesla believed that thoughts could be photographed. Tesla told a newspaper reporter decades later that the inspiration came while he was conducting experiments in 1893. I became convinced that a definite image formed in thought must, by reflex action, produce a corresponding image on the retina, which might possibly be read by suitable apparatus. The inventor imagined reflecting an image on an artificial retina, photographing it and projecting it on a screen. If this can be done successfully, then the objects imagined by a person would be clearly reflected on the screen as they are formed, he said, and in this way, every thought of the individual could be read. Our minds would then indeed be like open books. Missing papers. Lastly, one of the more contentious issues surrounding Nikola Tesla is what happened to many of his technical and scientific papers after his death in 1943. He claimed to have perfected his so-called death beam just before his death at the height of World War II. It was natural for the FBI and other United States government agencies to be interested in any scientific ideas involving weaponry. Some feared that Tesla's papers would fall into the hands of the Axis or the Soviets. The morning after the inventor's passing, his nephew, Sava Kosanovich, hurried to the Hotel New Yorker and entered his uncle's room. Kosanovich was a rising official in Yugoslavia who was thought to have connections to the Communist Party there. When he arrived, Tesla's body had already been taken away, and he suspected someone had already gone through his uncle's belongings. Technical papers and a black notebook he knew his uncle possessed with several hundred pages marked government were also missing. P. Foxworth, assistant director of the FBI office in New York, was assigned to investigate. The government, according to Foxworth, was vitally interested in preserving Tesla's papers. Representatives from the Office of Alien Property went to Tesla's room at the New Yorker Hotel 2 days after his death and seized all his belongings. To examine the Tesla papers held by the OAP, Dr. John G. Trump, an electrical engineer with the National Defense Research Committee of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, was contacted. After a 3-day inquiry, Dr. Trump concluded Tesla's thoughts and efforts during at least the past 15 years were primarily of a speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional character, often concerned with the production and wireless transmission of power, but did not include new, sound, workable principles or methods for realizing such results. Immediately following World War II, there was a resurgence of interest in beam weapons. Copies of Tesla's papers on particle beam weaponry were delivered to Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. To determine the viability of Tesla's concepts, an operation named Project Nick was heavily funded and placed under the command of Brigadier General L.C. Craigie. The details of the experiments were never made public and the project was apparently abandoned. But then something strange happened. The copies of Tesla's papers vanished and no one knows what happened to them. The last of Tesla's belongings, including his papers, were returned to Sava Kosanovich in 1952 and brought to Belgrade, Yugoslavia, where a museum was erected in his honor. Western journalists and academics found it very challenging to access the Tesla archive in Yugoslavia for many years under Tito's communist regime. Even then, they were only permitted to view a limited number of papers. This was not the case for Soviet scientists who visited in delegations during the 1950s. Concerns grew when Soviet Premier Khrushchev told the Supreme Soviet in 1960 that a new and fantastic weapon was in the hatching stage. Work on beam weapons continued in the United States as well. In 1958, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency launched a top-secret project at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory called Seesaw to develop a charged particle beam weapon. The project was forsaken after more than 10 years and $27 million. There was no knowledge of Tesla's papers among the scientists working on the project. In the late 1970s, it was rumored that the Soviet Union had made a significant technological advancement. According to some US defense analysts, a sizable beam weapon facility was built in southern Russia, close to the Sino-Soviet border. President Ronald Reagan announced the Strategic Defense Initiative in 1983 in response to this technological surprise, which urged scientists to work on making nuclear weapons ineffective to ensure world peace. The program is generally regarded as a failure. Despite 50 years of research and billions of dollars in investment, there is still no practical means of defense against a nuclear missile attack. Scientists and researchers have been looking for Tesla's lost papers for a long time, but all efforts have been futile. It's possible that if Nikola Tesla had any knowledge of how to project lethal energy beams through the atmosphere precisely, he took it with him to his grave. Under the Freedom of Information Act, the FBI eventually declassified about 250 pages of Tesla-related documents in 2016. The Bureau then issued 2 more reports, the most recent of which was released in March 2018. Many questions, however, have yet to be resolved despite the publication of these documents. Some of Tesla's files are still missing.
Hey folks, Marsico X here. If you're thinking that this is a discussion which is practically similar to my What If Goku Never Married Bulma mini-series, think again. We're upping the ante with this. At least in that version, Goku is around. It's very hard to imagine this series without the character around having any impact on it, right? If you look a little bit deeper, you can find out that there is quite a lot of stuff happening outside of Goku's general influence. For the first arc, the characters there like Bulma, Yamcha and Oolong were the ones carrying the narrative as it bumbled around for the first arc. Only later did Goku rise to the occasion properly, because otherwise he was a relatively blank slate. Quite a lot of stuff tends to revolve around the Saiyan anyway and his family. But what would happen if this character never existed? And I'm not just talking about him never coming to Earth, we're going further than that. But wait, I hear you say, how can you tell a Dragon Ball story without Goku in it, in a way that would not end us playing the sound? Well, we feel like we can at least try and discuss what Dragon Ball could be like without the main character Goku. After all, the Triple T are experimenting themselves with limiting Goku's impact in the story with Superhero. He's only in the movie for 10 minutes of screen time, and even then it's away from the action. Why not take it further? And the thing is that we cannot simply start from the regular Dragon Ball starting point of age 750. We should take a look at the times before it even started, the contextual preference, and add Bardock into the mix because yes, he's still around. And to be honest, the whole reason as to why Goku may never exist might be simply because, in this timeline, Bardock simply never got around to meeting Gine and, getting busy. Yes, in this case there is sadly not just no Goku, but no Raditz. Shocking, I know, but we've got to roll with it. This could also mean that he never gets the prophecy of his son meeting and ending Frieza in the future. I still think though that Bardock would die in the same way, fighting against Frieza, just without the whole prophecy thing giving him the main impetus to actually do it. He is mainly standing against Frieza because, well, he feels like he should, of his own volition, a sheer act of defiance, but that would leave Nappa and Vegeta as merely a duo, because Raditz isn't around to be the dog's body. The last 2 Saiyans in existence, as far as the series lore goes. We're not talking about movies. But now we can go back to Earth. Who would be the new protagonist of the story? Well, I mean, it's quite easy really. Our other lead character for that first Dragon Ball arc was kept intact. Nothing really changed about her because it's Bulma. Wait, Masako, this is like your Goku never meeting Bulma story, because Bulma carried that. Well, no, you see, because there is no moment when Raditz shows up and everything goes to pot. Earth didn't matter to Frieza, at least at that time, and it never really generated speculation on his part, you see. So there is a difference here, at least at this particular juncture. But Bulma here starts from a very selfish position as lead character. Not that Goku isn't selfish himself, but there is a lovable simplicity about him that kind of mitigates the selfishness. But Bulma though, oh, she's a totally selfish diva here, albeit very smart. I mean, you got to admit that Bulma right at the beginning wasn't wholly likable. But how are we going to deal with that? As the first couple of episodes would see Bulma trying out underhanded tactics to get the 4-star Dragon Ball not from Goku, but in this case Grandpa Gohan. And Gohan would be the perfect character to send Bulma off on her journey for the Dragon Balls, teaching her a little bit about humility, trying to swindle her at every turn because, like, you can't get the Dragon Ball yet, making her rethink her wish for strawberries or boyfriends. If we had Bulma remain selfish throughout the entire thing, there would be no compelling story, no journey. We need her to have some kind of change resulting from all of this at the end of it. And Gohan's calm and placid nature would be the best thing to make her see sense. Perhaps stuff her with humble pie for good measure. Of course, it would not change her completely. After all, this would be only the start of her arc. But with this way of going about things at the beginning, she would at least be able to make the first steps towards being a well-rounded protagonist. After that, she would combine forces with the likes of Oolong and also Yamcha and Puar. It would be kinda funny to see Yamcha being scared of her, but also having a crush. So there's sort of this duality going on, which would end in him rescuing the group from Pilaf's gang, and thusly overcoming his fears for good through sheer brute strength, confrontation. He overcomes his fears through adversity. Instead of having him run away all the time, he would have no choice but to take on his weakness directly. There you go. And as for Pilaf, he would actually win. What? But despite the storytellers having given him the Dragon Balls, it wouldn't be an easy ride. No. His wish would quickly turn against him, as he would become the primary target for the Red Ribbon Army, not Goku, because he doesn't exist. Because Pilaf was the one to discover the Dragon Balls and promptly keep on searching for them to get more wishes as time passed. Why wouldn't the Red Ribbon Army go after them? The Capture Corps lot wouldn't really register with Commander Red because they didn't actually have the Dragon Balls. As a result, within the army getting their act together, Pilaf's empire would be overthrown within days. All this being a precious lesson for our heroes as well. Now they would be motivated to act by seeing the true horrors of the army on full display when they wasted Pilaf, and would be more willing, therefore, to find the Dragon Balls again, to save the world from the army. Yamcha would also train with Master Roshi much earlier than he did so in the original, where he would become friendly rivals with Krillin, and Launch would also join the main fighting party as well. Meanwhile, Bulma would be travelling around the world, constantly trying to find the Dragon Balls before the army does. Thankfully, since she is but one little girl, albeit with a much more advanced Dragon Ball radar, but the Red Ribbon Army don't know that yet, she could get about places much more stealthily. The army never expecting one teenager to undermine them entirely, because the hubris with Commander Red, it's immense. When she would eventually get into some trouble, she would be aided by her friends, with Yamcha's and Krillin's newfound strength, thanks to Roshi, being more than enough to lead the charge against the Red Ribbons. Now, we would make the conflict with the Red Ribbon Army much more of a joint effort, rather than it being simply Yamcha or Krillin taking them all down to their HQ by themselves, much like what Goku did in the original. Oh, not forgetting Muscle Tower. It would be a regular sort of conflict, with Tal serving as the final boss here for the fighters, and Bulma foiling Commander Red's plans herself with the help of Pilaf, keen to put an end to the folks who had decimated his glorious empire. Here, Bulma and Pilaf would put their differences aside, unifying themselves much more early than in the original, because they sort of did that with Super, because Pilaf now works for Bulma, because he is kind of clever, albeit a bit naive. Finally, the wish would be used to restore those who had fallen against the army. Gero would probably be taken out in the process as well, as the heroes would be a little bit more methodical with the whole thing of stopping the Red Ribbons altogether, because Goku, he just sort of went in there ham-fistedly. Thusly, no Android Saga in the future, at least as far as we know. After this battle, some more peaceful times are to be had, as our heroes would prepare for the tournament. Yes, we did skip the 21st one, where Yamcha would develop another important rivalry with Tenshinhan, him wanting to avenge his idol Mercenary Tao. Tenshinhan would probably still win the tournament, but he would turn against Shen and his idol Tao anyway, and join the heroes, only to learn about the dire news of Krillin dying. Now, for the next saga, we would probably have Tenshinhan and Yamcha actively teaming up here, going against King Piccolo, learning to work together as a duo and really establishing their friendship. In the end, they would prevail. King Piccolo would have spat out an egg, but then the two of them would decide to try and follow that egg where it landed and mentor this new being, instead of leaving it to its own devices altogether. But of course, there are going to be a lot of shenanigans involved, which would ensue from this very idea, and the youngling would one day escape their clutches, starting to train on their own. He would return one day at the 23rd tournament to get his revenge on Ten Shinhan and Yamcha, with Yamcha being the one to beat Piccolo Jr. in the finale, and just like Goku, letting him live. Can you see where we're going here? In this timeline, Yamcha is the MVP. Good for him. Kami here would be potentially interested in taking Yamcha as his student, since he was the one to put to bed Kami's greatest challenger. The former bandit would have chosen Ten Shinhan instead to be nominated because he's his best friend and more suited to the gig, and become the Guardian's prized pupil. Now the point of all of this is this could genuinely be the end of the story. After all of this, Dragon Ball could naturally end. What's obviously left to do? Yamcha and Bulma have a kid named Buller, and that's all we need to know, yeah? After all, there's no Jiro, there's no Raditz. What could be left to talk about, really? In this story, the most exciting final boss could actually well be Frieza. Wait, you said that Earth wouldn't be in Frieza's field of vision. Why would it be now? Well, how do we even add Frieza to the story naturally without Saiyans bringing the fight to said planet? Well, really simply, actually, because after some years had passed, more than in the original time skip between Dragon Ball and Z, we're talking like, maybe 10 plus years, Piccolo would have become a frenemy kind of character for the group. Better than in the Raditz saga, but not quite as chummy as post-fusion with Nail. Everyone would still be training and active throughout all of this time, and Buller would probably be about 8 or 9 years old here before things got spicy. That's when the scout party for Frieza would come along, purely by happenstance. It seems here like the Emperor had done a little bit of digging. The most logical reasoning for him getting involved with Earth now is due to some random scouts trying to impress their boss by digging into the most remote and backwater parts of his empire in North Galaxy. When they found Earth, they struck gold. They learned about those mysterious wish-granting orbs, and when probing for more intel, a certain galactic patroller there to visit Bulma and Tights would have accidentally spilled the beans to them about there being a set of Dragon Balls on Earth. It wasn't just a legend. That and Earth being a actually really nice bit of real estate when they took a closer look at it. If you really think about it, the Frieza Force would have gone for Earth at some point, even without the events of DBZ. It's sort of a miracle that it took them so long. But if the right scout got bored, well, there you go. So, it would end with this Dragon team barely beating the scout party, and Ten Shinhan Yamcha dying, landing at King Kai's place for his special training, as they would expect a bigger invading force to be following those guys up. Now, here's where things get interesting, because here is where King Kai would tell them that, indeed, more invaders were coming. They were right to be skeptical. One scouting party isn't enough to get Frieza's personal interest, but more of them? Maybe. Frieza here would be the mysterious villain in the shadows, sending Kui as the first big bad proper, but unbeknownst to him and them, Vegeta and Nappa would also be trying to get to Earth, tempted by the Dragon Balls when they found out. Meanwhile, Piccolo would be the one to search for answers about his roots and the whole Namekian connection. Kami would suggest that he go into space, using his old vessel. Maybe that could help. Piccolo would actually get to Namek, get his potential unlocked, train with Nail, and return to Earth just in time to do some significant damage to the bad guys. Just as Ten Shinhan and Yamcha would have defeated Kui, Vegeta and Nappa would finish them off, trying to get the Dragon Balls for themselves. When everything seems lost and Vegeta and Nappa are about to prevail, it would be Piccolo who comes in and defeats the Saiyans. Vegeta, kinda shocked by the Namekian strength, would suggest some kind of temporary truce, all because they have a common enemy, Frieza. Of course, at this point in the story, he and Nappa would also plan to double-cross them, too. Vegeta would play the role of the victim, saying that it's all because of Frieza that he acts the way he does, and the one who will keep sending more and more people after them and Earth because he wants the Dragon Balls. He will stop at nothing. But unlike Vegeta, we would hope that our heroes would actually decide to start a resistance against Frieza, starting from Earth and using Jarko, through Tights of course, to start gathering allies from further planets against the Galactic Emperor. For the Patrol, this would be the best chance to actually get rid of him. Frieza would hate this, as this greater rebellion would just get on his nerves and actually start doing some harm to the Empire. He would have no choice but to go to Earth personally, get the Dragon Balls, kill off every single one of those Earthlings, and yeah, then just put the planet on the market, because just blowing the planet up, oh, that wouldn't be satisfying. Vegeta and Nappa would fight for the Earthlings this time, actually starting to believe in the resistance. In the climactic moment when all seems to be lost, it would turn out that Kami and Piccolo had fused into the nameless Namekian, not only getting rid of Frieza's prize for good, but also being strong enough, even without Nail in the equation, because he would probably be insanely powerful with his potential unlocked. Side note, Nail and Piccolo, they trained together but they didn't fuse. They would destroy the evil Emperor. After all was said and done, he would fly for Namek once more, to use their Dragon Balls to revive the victims of Frieza and bring back Dende, whom he befriended during his time there, to become the new Guardian of Earth. Bulma would become the ambassador for Earth with the Galactic Patrol, and Earth itself would become a very important planet in the history of the Dragon universe for its role in the resistance against Frieza. Now, there is a certain loose end left that could be used for more stories, but it all depends on how much you guys like this first outing thus far. Note that some of the power levels are adjusted here, just so that means we can have a story instead of merely relying on, and then Frieza killed them all. But we hope you guys could forgive us for this in this case. Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later!
What's happening, everyone? It's Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Today I wanted to talk about 5 Image comics that have recently come out that I personally have really enjoyed so far. A lot of issues, just a couple, a lot of series, just a couple of issues in. Very exciting stuff from a whole bunch of creators. I want to talk about those, show you some of the artwork, tell you why you should check these series out as soon as possible. Before we do that, real quick, want to mention OrganicPriceBooks.com, your best place to go when trade paperbacks or deluxe editions inevitably drop for the titles we're about to talk about. There are 2 promo codes being shown on the screen. Use either one of them. One of them is if you're ordering 3 or more books. The other one's if you're ordering however many books you just want to use it. Feel free to use them. It really helps us. It really helps our sponsor. Of course, they're trying to provide us all with an awesome price on amazing books. Amazing customer service, fantastic shipping. You can pre-order on there. Can't recommend OrganicPriceBooks.com enough. And now, let's talk about 5 new Image comic series that I can't recommend enough. First up, Kaya. This is a series by Wes Craig, written and drawn by Wes Craig. Wes Craig, I know primarily from Deadly Class. He is the artist and co-creator of the series with Rick Remender. Amazing, amazing, amazing artist. I love Wes Craig's work. I love his art style. I love the colors. I love his way of storytelling. And Kaya shines especially in that regard because it's him writing the series as well. A fantastic story that follows 2 characters, Jin and Kaya. They're 2 essentially orphans from a destroyed city that they're now trying to find a promised land that they need to go to in order to save themselves, save their people, and defeat the evil empire that destroyed their hometown. A really great set of characters. There's a really good dynamic between them, a really good back and forth. The series has a serious tone, but it's also relatively playful and has a overall lighthearted feel. I do still get the feeling that it will break my heart at some point, but for now, I've really enjoyed the first issue. Really, really fun story. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. There's a lot of mystery around these 2 kids. There's a lot of mystery around the universe and the world that they're in. What's happened up until this point? What else can we know about this empire? What other species exist within this universe? What is happening with these characters? What is with Kaya's arm? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. Really enjoying this series so far. Can't recommend checking it out. 1 issue's out as of this recording. I can't wait for more to drop. Next up is The Least We Can Do. This is a series by Yolanda Zanfordino and Eliza Ramboli. I apologize if I butchered any of the names. I'm so sorry. It's a great, great story. 2 issues out as of this recording. It follows a character named Uriel as she tries to find this group of individuals that can help her use this gem she's holding. To get a little more specific, This is a really cool universe that kind of reminds me a little bit of Harry Potter mixed in with, I don't know, a bit of a Dungeons and Dragons kind of vibe to it. Really, really cool story. Uriel is this bright-eyed young girl who has a history that relates to the people she's trying to help. The universe she lives in, resides in, is this universe where the Empire has been upholding order for many, many generations, and there is a group of people that is trying to essentially break that balance and essentially restore peace to the world. The Empire finds that war and violence is the way to rule people, the way to maintain order. And so Uriel has a history with this empire, but she also has a vision for a future that has peace, that doesn't always revolve around war as a solution to problems. A very noble endeavor, something I think a lot of people growing up nowadays and people at any age really is something we generally try to strive for. Not everyone, of course, but for the most part, I like to think that people do. Maybe I'm hopelessly optimistic. Either way, Uriel shares this same optimism, and with this group of individuals she's met and their use of mediums, they can essentially work together to try and overthrow this empire, or at least change the way the world works. Mediums are these gems that essentially grant people abilities and powers. I don't want to give away too much about them, how people obtained them, what the histories of them are with certain individuals, but within 2 issues, you start to find out quite a bit about the characters involved in the story, the world itself, Uriel's background, what her hope is for the future. It's a really, really lovable set of characters. I got really invested in the universe right away with issue 1. Issue 2 kept me very excited and gripped in the story. While, no slight to anyone, this isn't a groundbreaking story that changes comic book storytelling. It's a really excellently executed story that once in a while is an absolute pleasure to reread in a different style with a different format, different tools. Really recommend it. The least we can do, check it out. Next up is a mini-series, The Bone Orchard's 10,000 Black Feathers. This is going to be a 6-issue mini-series written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Andrea Sorrentino, the creators behind Gideon Falls, and a bunch of other titles. They work on almost everything, including the first Bone Orchard miniseries. Essentially, this Bone Orchard is going to be a universe of horror minis written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Andrea Sorrentino, co-created by both, of course. A horror series, a horror set of miniseries in a shared universe that don't necessarily all connect together, but I'm sure will nod to one another in one way, shape, or form. This is my first mini that I've jumped into. I haven't read the original one, which I think was something Bone Mythos, maybe like that. I do need to go back and read it, of course. But I jumped in with this one. There are 2 issues in as of this. There are 2 issues out as of this recording. I've read both of them. Really, really enjoyed it. It's exactly what I would hope for and want from a Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino horror title. A lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue, a lot of plot holes that need to be filled with very scary artwork, with Andrea Sorrentino's slightly changing styles based on the time at which the story is being told. Very, very cool stuff. It follows characters that have had a very horrific past with each other and has clearly moved into the future with them, into the present. Very, very exciting story. I like the idea of this sort of shared universe. And honestly, having not read the first mini-series within this sort of shared universe, I can say I really enjoyed this one so far, and I'm definitely going to finish it. There's, as far as I can tell, no need to keep up with every single mini within the Bone Orchard anthology, series, whatever we want to call it. But I'm very much looking forward to more of them, and I can't recommend them enough. Go check it out. Next up is a title called Flawed, written by Chuck Brown with artwork by Prenzy. Chuck Brown, you may have seen the name from the image title Bitter Root, one of the co-creators of that series. What is Flawed? I don't know if it's a mini-series. I forget. I think I looked it up, but I forget what I looked up now, which kind of defeats the purpose of having looked it up. But it's a really, really cool story that completely took me by surprise. I wasn't sure what to expect. The cover looked interesting. I know Chuck Brown's name from Bitter Root. Figured I'd check it out. And it is a wild and fantastic time. It follows Jem-Ez, who is a woman that's a psychiatrist by day and essentially a grade A badass by night. The vibe, the general tone of her character is a sort of Batman meets the Punisher, but a psychiatrist during the day, trying to genuinely help people and be a good person and help people through their struggles and their trauma. A really noble effort indeed, but sometimes you gotta take action to the streets, and that's when she comes out at night as an incredibly fierce character, an aggressive, badass character that gets down to business, takes names. I was shocked, completely floored by the series. I'm really looking forward to reading more of it. It can be a little silly at times, so the tone isn't super serious and dark every single page. Getting to see the kind of hope of the psychiatrist period of time, learning more about Jem as a character, where she's been in her background, how her family's involved in the picture, what her relationships are like with other people within her own life. Can she follow her own advice as a psychiatrist? There's a bit of social commentary within the book as well, sort of looking at, predators and preys within big cities and big societies. Really enjoying it so far. There are 2 issues out, I believe, as I'm recording this. Read both of them, really enjoyed them both. I can't wait to check out more. Be sure to do so yourself. The last title is a title called Old Dog. A 5 must-read video with 2 titles that are written and drawn by the same individual. Crazy. Well, no, not the same. That have an individual doing both writer and artist duties. Old Dog, Declan Shalvey writing and doing artwork on this. A huge task. Declan Shalvey I personally recognize from his work with Warren Ellis on things like Moon Knight, Injection. Really fantastic artist in my opinion. Really enjoyed Declan Shalvey's artwork. This title has Declan doing both artwork and writing. It follows a character named Jack Lynch. A super, that's as Tom Clancy as names get, Jack Lynch. A former operative who, for the past 15 years, has been kind of demoted, working relatively terrible jobs for some reason that we don't fully get an explanation for. All we know is Jack Lynch has been kind of doing these relatively lame operations for about 15 years now after some incident that basically left him without a family. While we're keeping up with Jack in this, you get to find what's really cool. I'm trying to explain this, trying to talk through issue 1, but the thing is, the way the story's told is it's a real trip. You can tell that Declan Shalvey is a fan of these kind of intel spy sort of movies with the way they tell stories, mixing up different time periods to keep you on your toes as you're reading and being engaged with the way the story is being told. So you kind of jump between the future and the past, or maybe the past and the present, or maybe the present and the future. I don't want to give too much away. Hopefully that was enough of a trick there, but the story really unfolds nicely within the first issue. I really enjoyed the way Declan told the story within that first issue. There are 2 issues out as of this recording, and I'm very, very excited to see where the series goes. I don't want to give too much away considering there are only 2 issues out now, but there are a good amount of nice plot twists. I'm very interested to see where this goes, what exactly even happened to Jack Lynch in that first issue. There's a ton of mystery in this universe. There's a lot of conspiracy going on. It's got a really cool Jason Bourne kind of vibe to it. So if that's the kind of book you're into, it may, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how Declan does. If it gets to an Ed Brubaker sort of level, we'll see. But I'm very excited to see what happens with it. It was a nice, more serious book within the books that I've been reading from Image recently. Very much looking forward to it. And I love Declan Shalvey's artwork. It's fantastic. Can't wait to see what happens to Rottweiler and a Retriever. I'll leave it at that. That's the most spoilers I'll give. It's only 2 issues, but I want you all to enjoy it as much as I did. Those are 5 Image titles I very much recommend checking out if you're in the market for 5 new Image books to read. What are you reading right now personally from Image? What do you recommend I check out and the other viewers check out? Let us know down in the comment section.
So hey guys.
Hey.
Hello, ladies. You want to call me daddy?
This is a public service announcement to the dude that had my lady before me.
There was a complication with my birth. And that complication was being assigned female at birth.
Okay.
Bold of you to assume I'm not the one in the relationship playing said mind games.
Eat burger. Don't do porn.
Please just
Hey guys, it's Jared, aka the Scruffy Wolf 2001.
Nothing like a steak dinner, nothing like it.
I'm not really sure what happened to America. We've got a TikTok is like the land of misfit toys. They're all congregated onto one app.
Hey, I got some Batman trivia for you.
Okay.
What's Commissioner Gordon's first name?
Jim.
Jim? I didn't think you'd ever heard of a Jim. Look at you. Yeah!
Hey there, Internet. This is a fart that I bagged back in 2016.
All right, I thought it was bad when people were buying farts from alleged hot Instagram models. This individual bagged his own farts in 2016, saved it. What do you do when you bag a fart? You sniff it later, right?
And I'm gonna go ahead and give it a whiff.
Makes sense. That's right.
Oh, he's cute. Is that the little Roblox guy?
Are you literally stupid? That's Among Us.
This kid's been sitting there getting its face stuffed by mommy and daddy, watching anime, and now they're on TikTok. Can you think about this for a second? Envision where you see this person in 12 years. What do you think they'll be doing?
Tell your boyfriend if he says he's got beef that I'm a vegetarian. I ain't friggin' scared of him.
A real question. Do you think these people are mentally challenged or they play a role? Are they really good actors? Because a lot of these people out here, they're trolls. I look at their feed and this is all they do. And I'm like, they must be really good actors because I'm hook, line, and sinker, I'm in.
There's an unspoken rule that if a dog stretches, you say, oh, big stretch. But we also need to remember the rule that if a dog shakes off and goes, you have to go too.
I've often wondered, when the dog sees humans doing this, what are they thinking? They go, this person needs help. I'll just stand by. Hopefully they can keep feeding me.
Congratulations. You found out the world is broken, just like everybody else did.
TikTok's
what you gonna do with that?
Baby, baby, I'm so emo. I'm turning on my mean mode. POV, you see me and I'm listening to Screamo. Now,
So follow me on a journey. This overweight teen decides, okay, I'm going to get all dolled up. I'm going to wear an outfit with a muffin top and do a skit on TikTok. And I'm not going to get trolled. I think where's people not have any shame left, dignity? Because no matter even if you were super hot, right, a super hot teen, people are still going to pick on you. And you do this and they say, I'm being bullied. And they go further down into the basement.
basic anymore, so no butterflies, no rainbows. Get used to this, a brand new.
Okay.
Who's your favorite emo?
Right.
Suggestions about moving paragraphs
this.
around even. Did you guys just see Tyler get kidnapped?
Now, do you remember the Zoom days? Everyone's working from home, half the people porky pigging. And then I think they got bored, started doing skits. I don't know if Tyler got snatched up. I don't know what happened there, but the Zoom world where nothing was getting done, people were recording themselves and putting it on the Zoom call so they didn't have to do anything. Productivity was in the shitter. I think it's time to go back to the office.
Do we need to call the...
Any hornies out there?
Wow. Now I'm wondering here, is this guy on a list somewhere, not allowed within 500 feet of a school? You see this and you gotta, stranger danger. Like my antenna are going up probably for a reason. I'm not getting into the creepy van for free candy.
Sexuality doesn't define me as a person. Morning, Kokichi. How are you? Ooh, gay,
Sure.
gay.
So if sexuality doesn't define you as a person, why are you talking about gay? Why are we wearing rainbows? Why are we on purpose trying to look like we're part of the ABC Mafia? Doesn't define us because all it does is define us.
Gender is a construct. Numbers don't exist. They're trying to put me in a box. I can't get out. Of this societal box. In a box. Help me.
I don't even understand the societal box. We've got women that do, we'll call masculine things, and men that do feminine things. That's always been how things worked in life. But now all of a sudden, you got to be, if you like to do masculine things, you're born female. Somehow or the other, tomboys don't exist, so we need to make you a man. We lop off your mammary glands and give you testosterone. That seems to be the new way of thinking.
And then I strike, like a lion stalking his prey.
Yeah.
Gotcha, didn't I?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
Good. Now that I'm talking to the world's greatest papa.
Yeah.
Oh, God. who got him this shirt. Think it was his children, or do you think it was his new girl at the trailer? What do you think she looks like? If you were envisioning his lady, would she be attractive? Would she be rotund? In other words, fat, smelling of BO and cigarettes? And, well, you know, you get the point.
I thought you guys might enjoy this. My ex texted me on my birthday. He said, "Happy birthday, Liv. You're a sharp and funny and talented person and artist." That is accurate. And I'm really glad we're still in touch. Can't believe you're finally 28 years old. I am 23. That is not accurate.
So he really doesn't care about you enough to remember your age or even look it up. So he says this because he wants to hook up. And can you imagine? She looks bitter. What are they called? RBF? Look that one up. She's got a sphincter that's tight as a snare drum.
I said, "I hate you." And in response to that, he sent me $7.
So me and Brian Crew just taught a really juicy anus workshop today and got a little bit into the prostate too. And that caused some pre to be secreted from my manhood.
All right, so when you think it's cringe, like anus workshop, and you think, okay, that's pretty cringe, but it gets worse. So stand by.
So a little bit of spermaceti, a little bit of testosterone, a little bit of spermidine, which is good for muscle growth, a little bit of nerve growth factor, which is really good for your brain and your nervous system. What else came out? A little bit of vitamins, minerals, oxytocin, and bonding hormone, which lowers cortisol. So not only am I getting the benefit of the urine therapy, which is powerful on its own, the Shivambu I should call it, but I'm also getting the benefit of the sperm, tiny bit of semen that's been mixed in with my urine.
All right. We got into the rear entry play, and then he had some Tinder sauce come out. But then he puts puts the stuff, the sauce here, into the urine. Okay, but then drinks is his own thing on video, and then shows people that he did this.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow. That's very, very potent. I love that.
To wash the baby's hair.
So let's have a conversation about why the
Once they start off with "let's have a conversation," that means there is no conversation. Sit there and be lectured to and like it.
exactly this isn't okay. You have decided to record your child while they are in the middle of a mental breakdown, clearly needing your guidance and help. They are screaming because they feel unheard, and you have decided to post that TikTok.
How does she know any of this? It could just be a skit. I know this individual's living their life on top of a TikTok skit and then thinking, if it was true, that saying something matters, like anybody gives a shit.
Under which people have commented multiple times, the baby needs an exorcism, or throw the whole baby away. My mom divorced my...
This is such an interesting group of people. They're very worried about children once they're actually in someone's arms. But when they're 36 weeks, 30 weeks, they're like, just cancel that kid. It's not a baby yet. Then they get very worried because they want to indoctrinate that vessel. They want to make sure that vessel complies with their woke mind.
My dad because he used to record me while I was screaming out of frustration and show them to her as though it was proof of my bad behavior.
Well, your dad was right. You turned out to be a lunatic. So you screaming out, your dad saying it's part of your bad behavior, and that now we see you. Yeah, your dad was pretty accurate. I'm sure he cut out because your mother's probably got the gene pool. The whole thing is messed up. Needs to be two parents, but, you know, let's keep moving.
Hello, ladies. You want to call me daddy, don't you? Come on and call me daddy.
We did a video here on the channel trying to help this fella out. Like, hey, buddy, we think you can do this. Trim the beard, the hair, stop doing these exact videos.
I'll take you to my mother's basement. We'll go on for a full minute. I'll show you my sword collection. We can both wear fedoras. And after that, we can watch anime.
I know what you're going to
This
say.
guy's
It's a troll. No. Look at his
This
channel.
guy's
Do yourself a favor. This is his je ne sais quoi. He can't help himself. Now, recently he shaved his head, but left the beard scraggle and then the meat sweats all the time.
No,
But
don't
this
shave
is
the
his
beard,
jam.
man. My body pillows.
Trim it.
Yeah. Don't you want to see my anime collection? My posters around the walls? Don't you want to see all this?
If you want to see more of him, check in the description. Have a video. Everybody was positive. I'm like, let's help this guy. But then videos like this come out. And then more of it. I don't know if he just can't help himself. Maybe he's
just trolling. But that's gonna be it for me.
I gotta go do some running. Maybe wake myself up with some cold. But thanks for tuning in. Glad you're here with me, chilling out. Just relaxing here, you know. If you haven't already, hit the follow, hit the subscribe, give me some likes, give me some love, show me some comments, something, anything. Or go to Rumble, sign up for Rumble. I'm over there too. King's Refuge. Alright, that's gonna be it. Signing out. It's King's Refuge. Deuces.